Mounce, BBG, chapter 23, sentence 5. All right, so here you look around and you don't see any obvious subject because you see that this is a dative plural, so that's not going to help you. And you see that the hot T follows a communication verb, so you're going to translate it as that because it's the content of communication, right? So he says to them, or he said to them, because this is a third singular. And she says to them, so he, she, or it, but in this case, if it's saying, we know it's probably a he or a she. So without any further context, you run with that, whichever way you want to go. He says to them that, and then here's your verb that's really could shake you up if you didn't know what you're looking at. And what I would tell you is when you see the eta, shorten it and then say, well, okay, what are my options? I could go with an epsilon. I could go with an alpha. If I go with an alpha and think about what verb it might be RO. But I know anything like that? Well, I know IRO, right? And so if I think about it maybe being IRO, well, if there's a stem change, then maybe that iota dropped out, as it often does when you have a stem change takes place. So assuming that, in terms of I take, I take or I take away, right? If we run with that as a result of saying, well, okay, I can look at this and think maybe IRO, then I'll look at the alpha nu and say, well, the only possibility there, if this is really, and part of that's an augment, and that's my ending. If this is an augment, then I'm probably dealing with an aorist, and I know there's a stem change. So the only option for an ending here has got to be third plural, right? So he says to them that they took away, or they took the Lord of me, right? So going back, and looking at this as, again, if you remember our discussion about the historical present, very, very common in narrative to use a historical present. But, translating it that way as a historical present, we want to say, he said to them that they took my Lord, and not I know where, and he gives you this one, they laid him. So not hard to do the little gymnastics that you got to do for this whole last clause. But going back to the beginning, and I'll just read it as I would say it, is he said to them that they took my Lord, and I don't know where they laid him. Pretty easy.